Hello. Today we'll be talking about how to download, extract, view and understand data from the WorldPop website. We've made this tutorial with Windows users in mind, but if you have a Mac you should be able to still follow along. Just be aware that the steps might vary slightly. So by the end of this tutorial you should be able to download, view and understand a variety of WorldPop datasets, and hopefully this will help you incorporate these datasets into your own work. First we'll get straight to downloading the data. Head to the WorldPop website, which can be found at www.worldpop.org.uk, and there should be a link to the URL below. Then navigate to the Data section of the site. So we first click on Data, Get Data. This is the page where you can access all datasets from. If there's a specific country you'd like data for, use the Quick Search option. If you'd like to browse all the available WorldPop datasets, click on the data list, or alternatively, if you scroll down, the map selector has an interactive map where you can select data you want by continent, country and data type. Today we're going to be looking at some data for Haiti, so we use the quick search box right up at the top. So we'll just type Haiti in here. And this gives us the data search results. So we can see that there's a 100-meter spatial resolution population dataset available for Haiti. Depending on the country of interest, there may be other additional datasets listed here. For example, if we go back and search for Kenya, then we can see, as well as population, there are also births, pregnancies and poverty datasets available. Now going back to the data for Haiti, we'll now click on the summary page link here, so we can further explore the population dataset. If you want further information about how a dataset was made, you can also click on the View Metadata link here. So I'll head to the summary page now. On this page we get a preview of what the data looks like when viewed spatially. So this will be similar to when we pull this data into Geographic Information Systems or GIS software later. And then on the right there's a summary of some of the key metadata. The data we'll be working with are georeference raster or gridded data and represent population estimates for approximately 100 meter by 100 meter grid cells. The data format is a GeoTIFF, which is a geographic-specific extension compatible with most GIS software. Further information on data types can be found at the link below. We will now go through how to actually download the data. So firstly, scroll down to the data download section, which is at the bottom of the page. We'll fill out some quick information about ourselves. Now it isn't compulsory to fill this out, but it really helps WorldPop understand their user base and what the data are being used for. So we'll finish filling in this information here. Now there are a couple of ways we can download the data. Either we can download the entire dataset, which includes population estimates for multiple points in time, and we do that by clicking the Download Entire Dataset link, which you can find at the bottom of the page here. Or if we know we only want to work with a particular year, for example the most recent that is available, we can click the Browse Individual Files. Here we can see a list of the individual groups of data which make up the entire dataset. It's important to note here that the file names and other important metadata are explained in the grey box on the right. And you can always take a look at the metadata file if you'd like any further information. For now we'll work with population estimates per pixel for the year 2015, adjust to match UN estimates. So we click on the file HTI_PPP_V2B_2015 UNADJ, which is just at the bottom here. We can see now that the file is downloading. Now you'll need to navigate to your Downloads folder or wherever your system usually stores files downloaded from the internet. If you're using a different browser or operating system, this might look a little different to what you can see in this video. If you need to, pause this video now until you've located the downloaded data folder. The data have been downloaded in a .zip format, so you'll now run through how to extract and access the data you've downloaded. Any data downloaded through the Browse Individual Files option will at this stage be stored in a zipped folder. Windows operating systems should natively be able to extract the files from this zip folder, and to do this, we'll right-click on the file and select Extract All. If you want to change the pathway where the data is stored, you can do that now. Otherwise, just click Extract. We can then see the extracted individual files for UN-adjusted population estimates for Haiti for the year 2015. The data is comprised of a few different file types: a TFW, a TIFF, and an XML file. These are all file extensions associated with the GeoTIFF file format. We're not going to go into details here, but if you want more information, there's a link below. It's important to note here that if instead of downloading the data through the Browse Individual Files option, you chose the Download Entire Dataset option. So if you clicked here, instead of using the Browse Individual Files, then your data will come in what's called a 7Z format, which is another way of compressing data. If you downloaded the entire dataset for your area of interest, you'll first need to download the 7-zip software, which is freely available online, and use this to extract the data first. Now that we've extracted our data, we can begin viewing and working with it in some GIS software. Today we'll walk through how to view your WorldPop dataset in QGIS, which is a freely available GIS software. We won't be discussing ArcGIS software in this tutorial, but it will be covered in future videos, so keep an eye out for those. So firstly, if you don't have QGIS already installed, you can download it from www.qgis.org. In this tutorial, we'll be using QGIS 2.18, which is the most recent release, but if you're using an earlier version, just be aware that the layout may look a little different. Firstly, we'll open QGIS Desktop. And once that's loaded, we'll begin by adding the WorldPop dataset that we downloaded. It's important when working with QGIS to know whether your data is raster or vector, as they require different tools for importing the data. The WorldPop data we're working with here is raster data, so we'll use the Add Raster Layer tool. This can be found in the Manage Layers toolbar, which is usually on the left of the screen. Or alternatively, you can access it through the Layer menu, clicking on Layer, Add Raster Layer. Now simply navigate to where you extracted your data. In our case, this is in our Downloads folder, as shown. And you want to make sure that you add the GeoTIFF file and not the associated TFW or XML file. If you accidentally add those, you'll probably just get an error message saying that the file is an unsupported format. After adding the TIFF file, you should see the shape of Haiti with various shades of black, white and grey. Be aware that the values shown alongside these colours here in the Layers panel do not necessarily represent the high and low values of the raster, but we'll talk a bit more about that a little later on. Firstly, we'll go through customizing how the data is displayed. Start out by right-clicking on the file name in the Layers panel and choose Properties, which will bring up the Layers panel dialog box. The tab that is automatically shown is the Style tab, and it's here that we can adjust the color scheme and the values displayed. We'll start by changing the render type option to single bound pseudo color, as this will give us more colors to work with. Now we want to take a look at the minimum and maximum values of the data, so click on the little arrow next to Load Min Max Values and select the radio button next to Min Max and click Load. We can see that this data has a wide range of values, from 0.06 to 1,330. These values represent the estimated number of persons residing in an approximate 100 by 100 meter grid cell throughout the country. We're going to stick with the color scheme that we've got selected here, but if you want to customize it, feel free to do so. We now just need to click OK, and then we'll have a look at some of the underlying values of the data. So we're going to use the Identify tool to do this. We can zoom in to an area of interest using the Magnify tool, just at the top here, and you just select the area that you want by holding down the left mouse button and then drawing a square. So we'll have a look at Porto prints here. And as we zoom in, you can start to see the individual pixels that make up these grid cells across the country. We're just going to zoom in a little bit further here. We can now use the Identify tool to find the values of individual pixels, and this can be found in the top toolbar here. So if we select this pixel here, a little window pops up, and we can see the value here, 291, which indicates that there are an estimated 291 people living in this grid cell. Similarly, if we click on a darker purple color, then we'll have a fewer number of people, so 59 in this pixel, and then a dark green pixel should have a much higher number, so we've got 1,230 people here. So in this way, you can find the estimated number of people for any grid cell in the dataset. So to summarize, today we've covered how to download, extract, view, and understand a standard WorldPop population dataset. These principles will apply to the majority of other WorldPop datasets, including births and pregnancy estimates. We really hope you found this tutorial helpful, and stay tuned for more in-depth tutorials on the WorldPop YouTube channel in the coming months. Thank you.